For over 100 years, Aboriginal children were removed from their families and sent to institutions called residential schools with the purpose of eliminating parental involvement in the spiritual, cultural, and intellectual development of Aboriginal children. During this chapter in Canadian history, more than 150,000 First Nations, Métis, and Inuit children were forced to attend these schools, some of which were hundreds of miles from their home. The last residential schools closed in the mid-1990s. The cumulative impact of residential schools has had a profound impact on the relationship between Aboriginal peoples and other Canadians. Collective efforts from all people are necessary to revitalize the relationship between Aboriginal people and Canadian society. Hey everyone, my name is Megan Stone, and my ancestors were from Iceland and Ukraine. I was born and raised in the traditional territories of the Woodland and Plains Cree peoples, and I'm very grateful for the bountiful nature of the land that I live on. I will be introducing you to our group topic and our objectives for the week, as well as my other group members. My first group member is Linda Shampoo, whose ancestors were settlers from Scotland and France and came to the land that we live on over 100 years ago. She was born and raised in the traditional territories of the Lekwungen and Wsanec peoples. She feels very fortunate to be surrounded by the beauty of the territory she lives on. Arlene Williams-Deborah has ancestors of West African descent. She is proud to live in Adibigok, the traditional territory of the Ojibwe Anishinaabe Aboriginal people. Through the lands flows the Humber River, or Carrying Place Trail, originally used by the First Nations people to travel and transport goods. And lastly, Catherine Eady, whose ancestors were from the British Isles and the West Indies. Catherine was born and raised in the Hochelaga village, inhabited by the First Nations St. Lawrence Iroquoians, where the land was very rich in resources and encouraged travel and trade. She now lives in the area of the Mississaugas Squamish Island First Nation, who are a branch of Greater Ojibwe Nation. She is proud to raise her family in an area so rich with history and teach them to respect the land as the Ojibwe Nation does. In 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee of Canada released a final report documenting the impact residential schools and the neo-colonialist policies that resulted in inequities in health and education for the Indigenous people. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission developed recommendations to improve health and education policy and practice and have resulted in changes to health disciplines curriculums. These changes provide the opportunity to consider the pedagogical approaches used in health disciplines classrooms. As a profession, we are responsible for ensuring safe passage through nursing programs and the inclusion of Indigenous worldviews, academic and personal supports for students, and curricula which foster independence among Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal graduates in the provision of care to Aboriginal peoples. We hope with your participation in this week that we can assist you to increase your knowledge and understanding of colonization and the impact of neocolonialism on education and practice in the health disciplines, discuss the responsibilities of educators to respond to the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada in 2015 by incorporating alternative pedagogical approaches in the health disciplines classroom, discuss contextual factors that impact the integration of Indigenous philosophies in health disciplines education, and lastly, to identify strategies to harmonize Western and Indigenous ways of teaching, learning, and health disciplines education. Please begin the week by reviewing our presentation slides and the readings embedded within each slide. For further enrichment and resources, please view the videos and recommended readings, and we look forward to hearing from you throughout the week. Thanks.